This week, I was at two different meetings. One of those meetings, we were talking about trying to structure the non existent. And in the second one, we were talking about how that is absolutely ridiculous. In my opinion, or in my point of view, when people want to start something, whether that is an idea, a business, a startup, a product, a program, a project, whatever it is that you want to start, there's two types of people. There's the type of person who is all about what we need, and they start creating a list, a huge list of things that they need before they can even start this product or idea. So, for example, they'll say, I need beautiful branding. I need a landing page. I need a team. I need someone in operations. I need a legal team. I need a physical space. I need blah, blah, blah. And the list goes on. And then there's the other type of person who just takes what they have, the resources that they have, the things that they have access to, and they use those things and they get started. So those are two completely different approaches, because the first person, from my point of view, what they're doing is they're making excuses. They are pretending as if they can't actually start anything because they don't have the resources that they need. And so years can go by and you see this person, I don't know, 5 years from now, and they will still be telling themselves this speech of, I still can't get started because I still need 10 more things. And here's the thing with those types of people, they get the things that they say that they need. So let's say that their list starts with 5 items. They accomplish those 5 items, and once they do, they have another 10 items that they need. They're always coming up with new things that they need, and new restrictions and new excuses and new limitations. But the other type of person, the one who just gets started and gets going, that's a completely different approach. You see this person like 5 days later or 5 weeks later, and they've already done so much. They have tested, they have tried this, they have tried that. And here's the thing, when you use the resources that you already have, somehow, when you get started, new resources start coming up. So instead of you having 3 things and staying with those 3 things, once you get started, somehow things start falling in place. And so you start getting access to more things, and you start gaining valuable lessons and experience that lets you move forward. But when you're just standing there doing nothing and thinking, I need all of these things, I need everything to line up, I need everything to be perfect so that I can get started, you're never going to get started. Okay, so no mic on right now, mic is not working. But why do I consider it so ridiculous to structure the non-existent? I'll give you an example. So I worked in automation and RPA for a few years. And one of the first things that you do is understand what the manual process looks like today. And so when you understand what the manual process looks like, then you're able to distill that into a process that you can automate. What I mean by that is you document the steps that a human is taking. So you create a document step by step, and then you automate that process. So that's one way of going from the unstructured to the structured. You have something that is a mess or that is very time consuming, and you structure that. It is clear what happens when you have an unstructured process that you want to structure. It is clear that there is a mess and you want to structure that mess. You want to make sense of that mess. Now, what happens when you have no process? When you want to automate or structure something that doesn't exist, you're starting with a blank canvas. It really makes no sense. Like, imagine you have a white canvas and you say, let's structure this, let's automate this. What are you structuring? What are you organizing? What are you automating? Nothing. So it makes no sense. So let's pretend a young entrepreneur comes up to me. Let's pretend it's a she, and she says, I want to start a business. I want to start a startup. And I'm saying, great. What's the product, or what's the business? What's the service? What's the offering? And she says, I'm not sure. The only thing that I know is that I want to start a business. Great. So I tell her, sounds good. Come back tomorrow or come back in a week and tell me what this business is. Tell me what this product is, and we can go from there. So she comes back in a week and she tells me, I just realized I have a bigger problem than not knowing what the product is. And I'm like, what's that problem? And so she tells me, well, the problem is that I want to start a business, but I don't have all of the things that I need to start said business. I don't have the resources. I don't have the team. I don't have the branding. I don't have the network. There's so much that I don't have. And because of that, I'm not able to start a business. So let's pretend that for a moment I agree with her, which I don't, but let's pretend that I agree with her. Because I agree with her and because I want to help her, I just say, okay, don't worry about it. Come back tomorrow. Even if you don't have the product, even if you don't have the offering, you don't have the idea, you don't have the service, come back tomorrow and I'll have a team for you ready to go, 20 to 30 people ready to go with everything you need. They'll take care of branding. They'll take care of the skills that you don't have. They'll help with all of the potential areas that you may need. They'll help with everything. They'll take care of everything. Just come back tomorrow. She comes back and you've got 20 to 30 people ready to go, experts in their fields, and they're standing there looking at her like, we're ready to work. What should we do? So in that moment, this girl will realize, I have the team, I have the skills, I have the brand, I have the network, I have the resources, I have everything that I thought that I needed. And I have absolutely nothing to do with it. I've got 20 to 30 people ready to go, and I have no idea what they should be doing. Why? Because I don't know what we're building here. I don't know what the product is. I don't know what the service is. So when you have this idea in your head of I need A, B, C, D, and so on to start a business, and you get those things, you realize that A, you can still come up with so many more things that you need before you even start. And B, it turns out that you didn't need any of those things in the first place. So I see this in many different spaces. People just kind of thinking that they need whatever it is to start. And this huge list of items, I just see them as excuses. I see them as ways to hide the lack of clarity, ways to postpone what you actually need to do, ways to feel as if you're doing something but you're actually not doing anything. It makes you feel as if you're making some progress, but it's actually just movement. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have an idea in your head, it doesn't matter if it's for a product, a service, a business, something you want to do in your life, just get started. More often than not, you already have the resources that you need to get started. More often than not, you already have the 1, 2, or 3 skills that you need to simply get started. You don't need to have everything in place. You don't need everything to be perfect for you to get started. And I see a huge contrast between people who have these ideas in their heads and this thing where they think that they need all of this stuff to get started. And as I was saying, you see them 5 years later, they've done nothing. And then you see the other type of person who has this idea in their head of like, we just need to get moving. And you see them 5 weeks later and they have so much progress. And again, this leads me to another important point, which is don't confuse movement with progress. I've seen this so clearly in specific people throughout my life, people who think that movement equals progress. That's a lie. You can convince yourself that you're making progress because your calendar is full, but if you actually go item by item in the things that are in your calendar and you ask key questions about each item, for example, what's this thing doing for me? Is this moving the needle in some way? Is this helping me achieve some goal? If you go item by item, more often than not, the people who are just chasing movement and not progress will realize I'm spending all of this time in things that have absolutely no ROI. 5 key takeaways from this. Number 1, clarify if what you're doing is structuring the unstructured, structuring the mess, or if what you're doing is making excuses for not getting started. Number 2, do not confuse movement with progress. Movement gets you nowhere. It looks as if you're super busy doing so many things, and you look at what you did 5 weeks later and you realize all of those things that I spent time on have zero ROI. Third thing would be, because I've also seen this, don't surround yourself with people who want to convince you of lies. And this may sound a bit harsh, but I've seen this. I've seen this firsthand. Someone comes into a meeting and they want to convince everyone else that we can't get started unless we have all of these things ready to go. I think that's a lie. I think that you can get started now. In most cases, because you may have a very specific case, a very unique case, 90% of the time or even more, you can just get started with what you already have. So don't let these people convince you that you really can't get started. Now, for me, the fourth thing would be make it actionable. I see so many people who use the word strategy as a way to sound sophisticated and say absolutely nothing. We took this strategic decision. This is our strategy, and blah, blah, blah. And they keep talking and talking and talking about something that doesn't exist, that makes no sense, and that if you actually dig into it, if you ask some questions, you'll realize they don't really know what they're talking about. They just want to sound as if they have some understanding of what they're doing, but they actually don't really. But a strategy has around 5 different things that make it actionable. A strategy has a long-term objective, it has goals, it has tactics, it has actions, and it has metrics. So metrics or KPIs. So a strategy is actionable. A strategy is something tangible. You can look at it and you can see we're making progress, yes or no. How are our goals going, and so on. But what about structure? What are those things that are part of a structure? What are those action items that are part of a structure? So if people start saying we need to structure this, what does that mean? I'll go back to the RPA example. In the RPA example, what that means is we need to clarify these steps. We need to clarify which of those steps are going to be 100% automated and which of them are going to have the human in the loop. So when you're talking about these words that may sound abstract, please clarify why you're using them and what they mean. And number 5, just get started. When you get started, you will realize that the learning starts the moment you begin to take action. The learning does not start when you are looking at a screen for 10 hours and think that you're doing a super successful brainstorming session where everything that is going on is based on assumptions and you haven't tested anything. Close your laptop, get out there, talk to the potential users, run some tests, do some things that give you some lessons and some learnings, and then most of all, just take action and learn from those tests, iterate, improve, learn, keep it going, and eventually you'll get to something. But just get started. Don't let others convince you that you need 101 different things to get started.